What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode, and we are heading to Miami. But not with Will Smith. This time, we got Katerina Morison. So, welcome, everybody. We are on another episode of Moving Out, and we have the ever-awesome Katerina Morison, if I am saying that correctly, based out of Miami, Florida. She is an expert in her area, and we are going to put it to the test to see just how great Miami, Florida is for people to be moving to. As we know, New York just came out with the stat last week that 49% of people polled here on Long Island plan to leave the state completely, not just relocate out of their house, but leave the entire state.
If we're talking about 2 bedrooms in the best areas of Miami, you definitely have to pay at least $3,000, and that would be an average.
Okay. And what about single family residential homes? So let's say the average price point of home, what's the average price point of home right now going in Miami?
So I would say it would be around 300 to 350 per square foot. So it's going to be, I would say, around, you can get something for 350. Will it be in a good school district? Not really. But it's going to be a smaller home for 350, but you'll be closer to civilization. You'll be closer to all the big businesses and to Target, Walmart, whatever you need for everyday basis. And you'll be, I would say, 20 minutes away from the beach, but you'll definitely drive.
Awesome.
Which I would say would be around 450, 500,000, but on the best side of the average. So basically, I'm not really familiar with Long Island market at all, but if we're talking about, let's say, if we're talking about getting paying the same price in Florida, you'll definitely get a nice backyard, you get a pool, you get a larger house. So think of this, like, it's just all about comparison.
Yeah. So on Long Island right now, I just sold a 3-bedroom ranch. I can't give you the final sales price, it's not closed yet, but it went listed at $499. We went over 500 for just a simple 3-bedroom, 1-bath ranch. No frills, nothing too crazy. There's a pool and stuff there too. But the average price point on Long Island right now is running about $500,000 for a very average home. It's not getting you much. So $500,000, if I take that to Florida, $500,000. What kind of house could I expect for $500,000?
It's an average 3-bed, 2-bath.
Okay.
About 1,200 square feet. Not the largest that you can get, but that would be an average square footage.
Okay.
With a pretty big backyard and possibly a pool. If you pay $350 per square foot.
Perfect. Now this is, obviously, it's foreign for a lot of people here who have bought houses on Long Island, because you're very good at describing houses per square foot, and that shows your commercial experience. But here on Long Island, in Suffolk County especially, we're one of the only places on the world that apparently believe in not selling houses by price per square foot. We barely even list the square footage on the listing half the time. So we just kind of make it up as we go. But for that, the other side that I always love touching on, and this is my favorite question pretty much every segment that we do, is not so much the home prices, because I think here in America, we've started averaging out an average price per home, I think, across the board. Obviously, some states are cheaper than others, but if you were picking a state that has access to water or a beach or something in that nature, you're going to pay a little bit more of a premium. With that said, though, the one thing that's always staggering and really shocking for people from Long Island is the taxes. What are the average property taxes on those homes that you're selling in the $300,000 to $500,000 range?
Much lower than in New York. I know known about having high taxes, not here. So basically here you would pay, I would say, around $4,000 a year in taxes. But remember that here you have to pay higher flood protection insurance.
Can you go into that real quick? What would be the average for flood insurance, would you say? What's about the average for a house that's too close to the water?
I would say it would add $200 a month to your monthly payments.
Okay, so about $2,400 annually?
Yeah, and of course it all depends on the location. The closer you go to the ocean, the more you pay. And of course there is a few bays in Miami. So if you're located on the bay, you'll pay a little bit higher. But once you go deeper, let's say a little bit more west, um, yeah, it's going to be pretty reasonable, you know.
Awesome. So then we touched a little bit on jobs and stuff. What are some of the bigger businesses that are in your area right now that stand out to you when you say that are a real opportunity for people that are coming to possibly look for work in Miami right now?
Well, that's a little bit a broad question. All depends on qualifications and the profession that you're actually into.
Okay.
But a lot of tech companies that are moving to Miami these days, and the mayor of the city is actually very pro tech and pro cryptos. Probably a lot of people know these days, and a lot of people follow him as one of uh, political influencers, I would say, and this is why a lot of people like him. But also on the local level, some people do not really appreciate what he does to the city. So it all depends. I'm not into politics, but it all depends on what do you expect from the city to be, let's say, 10 years from now.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha. Okay.
big thing right now here in Miami: tech, crypto, stocks, everything related to this.
Well, I guess if you can turn the living from working on a computer and you could do it, with a backdrop like Miami, why wouldn't you, right? That's
Yes.
I think the mindset for a lot of people. All right, so getting into the homes then, right? Is there any characteristics that stand out for a Florida house? Like you've done some real estate in New York. You also like come from a different place yourself, your background. So any characteristics that you just don't find in a home anywhere else but Miami that you would say like this is why you buy a home here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that pools is having a pool is a really, really big thing here. Some people would even buy a house without a pool and build it within the next 6 months simply because, first of all, they have enough space because the lots are generally bigger than in New York, and secondly, simply because you have summer all day, every day. You know, why not? So pool is definitely one of the must features for a property to have if we're talking about single family homes. And also you definitely have more space, so the lots are bigger, and the homes are normally bigger.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
We're talking about the same price.
Okay. Any features that they don't have that you could think about here in New York that we also have? Like we have a lot of basements here. Are basements pretty common in Miami?
Basements are not really common in Miami. That's actually a good question. Basements are not really common in Miami simply because of the flood danger. And actually, it's a very big thing people are discussing these days is where actually Miami is going to be in 10 years. Is it going to be a big city growing and a lot of people moving to Florida, or actually people will be moving away, moving out? So who knows, who knows? But I think that I read some news. Um, yeah, it was in the morning that New York City and Miami, they actually are planning on building some kind of islands to protect the main city from flood. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, let's hope they figure it out. I know a lot of places throughout the world are struggling with the rising sea levels, right? So, even here on Long Island, we deal with it in towns like Port Jefferson Village, which is really a very charming village right on the water. It's got a ferry that runs to Connecticut pretty often. And, I would say since like Superstorm Sandy to now, the residents there, they can't go a major rainstorm without getting some kind of flooding in the main road there. And I know that, I've been a Long Island resident for 37 years. So for me to watch the landscape change so much and to be impacted by, something as serious as rising tides, it does beg the question of what the landscape will look like in 10 years. So with that said, buyers that are moving into the area that are coming from New York, obviously you also sell real estate in New York, so you do have an idea of what the market's like here. You do know it's crazy. But here on Long Island, right, equally as crazy, multiple offers and things like that. What would you say procedurally is different for Florida than it is here in New York. So if I bought a house in New York, right, you know the traditional way we go about it. We find a good real estate agent like you or me. We pick a good house. We make an offer. We get a lawyer, and then we go to contract. Do they get a lawyer and go to contract when they're in Florida with you?
No, you don't have to have a lawyer to close on the property in Florida. It can be a
Okay.
good bad thing at the same time.
You generally recommend an attorney?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Simply because I know how it's being done in New York, and I know that it's very helpful to have an attorney on your side when it comes to research, to legal side. So I all the time, even if my client, let's say, they don't want to be represented by an attorney, I always have an attorney that I go to, and I'm willing to pay attorney fees myself just to protect my clients and to protect myself as a licensed person, you know. So in terms of purchasing in New York, it takes at least 60 days to close on the property if it's not cash. And this is the best situation, the best time frame, right? 60 plus. Here in Florida, it takes 30 days to close. So basically, if you're in Long Island and you want to move right away, you might need a seller contingency, a sell contingency, right? So to make sure that you're able to purchase something in Florida right when you close on your property in New York. If not, you can start searching for a house while being in contract in New York. And this is a good thing because you'll be able to close on the property in New York and move to Florida right away, having your house ready waiting for you.
Yeah, you know, one thing that many of my clients don't realize, and what I have almost said, it makes the difference when we put the deal together here. And a lot of people don't think of, you know, we write the offer contingent on them obviously finding their new place to go. And a lot of agents get afraid of standing firm on this contingency. However, with a lot of buyers to choose from, when you're on the listing side of things, and it really is still a seller's market here in New York, you get to kind of make those outrageous requests in the way of, look, I'm moving to Florida. They won't take an on or about date. So I need your commitment letter. I need your money. We need to close. And I need a post-possession agreement of at least 30 to 45 days so that Katerina could get me into my house and that there's no problems on the Miami end. So a lot of people don't realize, though, that you are not forced to be stressed and figuring out from A to B. We can write it right into the contract so that you can have a contingency based on you finding that house with Katerina and you having that flexibility of getting your closing, getting your money, and then transitioning into your new place, rather than feeling so stressed that so many people do. And the worst mistake that most people can make is heading to Florida, wasting Katerina's time. Your house isn't sold back here in New York. And now you tell her, oh, I love this house and we want to buy it. And you can't because your funds aren't ready, your house isn't closed. And Florida obviously is not giving you the kind of leeway like New York does with this on or about attorney protected contingency state. When you get down to Florida and you sign an agreement with your realtor, and as Katerina said, she's going to go ahead and take care of that lawyer for you if she has to, in order to get you processed, because she wants you to have good legal representation. But for the agents, if you make the mistake and you don't call Katerina and you show up to a real estate agent who just says, let's slap this deal together and get you inside of it, and they are not aware that your house in New York is not sold yet, you have to understand that literally what we just said is you're going to be shit out of luck, people. You will have a house that you must buy that you might lose your down payment on, and you're going to be begging me to have your house sold and get you out of here. But in New York, it just doesn't work like that. So we get on or about 60 days. So like Katerina said, it's about a 30-day difference in closing time between Florida and New York. So we want to make sure we get you squared away here so you're ready to go there and make good decisions. So what would you say is the one thing that you advise your buyers to do that really helps their offer stand out in a competitive market, outside of you just being the rock star agent that they hired? What helps?
Of course, it's down payment amount and being ready to participate in a bidding war, because Florida market is very hot right now, as everybody knows. Miami market is not as hot as Tampa market, for example. It's slowing down finally. Many agents actually appreciate the fact that it's slowing down. But of course, it's just like everywhere. The love letters would not help here.
I like that. The love letters have no weight. So money ready. Do you have an idea of like what percentage over asking they should be offering?
It's actually a lot of properties are being sold at asking price these days. Of course, it all
Okay.
depends on property type. I always say this. For example, condos can be purchased at a very reasonable price these days, just like co-ops, because there is a few co-op buildings here in Miami as well, just like in New York. Uh,
Okay.
but when it comes to, let's say, single-family homes, you have to be ready to pay asking price at least. You might pay 10, 20,000 over asking price if it's asked reasonably at the market value, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes, as we know, agents might underprice for a reason to create that bidding war. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, you might expect to pay 10, 20,000 over. But again, it will get appraised. It's not that
Okay.
be like a huge difference. Not
So
anymore.
that's
That would be the case last year, but not anymore since the comps are already higher. You know, for the
okay. So since we did establish though that you don't need an attorney, who handles the down payment? Is it traditional for them to give you a good faith deposit? Do you handle that as a real estate agent or does the title company handle that? Who takes the money from the buyer when they get down there?
title company.
Okay. And you have good title companies that you recommend down there, right?
I always
Okay.
partners that I work with.
Great.
Recommend my buyers or sellers to work with my preferred partners all the time, but I never force them since I
Yeah.
cannot promise their performance as I can promise my performance, let's say, right?
Right, of course. Now, we're dealing with the title company and stuff like that, and home inspections as well, right? Even though it's a competitive market, do you do it the way I do it, in the way that we tell them do the home inspection, just don't make it contingent upon it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, information purposes only really is what the home inspection's for. What's new construction like? Are there new houses? Could I come down there and buy a new construction if I was interested in one?
They're being sold uh, during the constructions already. So it's still, if it's under construction and if it's already listed, most likely it's already sold by the time it's built.
Okay. Now, is there a waiting list? Say, if I wanted to get on a waiting list for a new construction home, is there anything that people could do? And what's about the waiting list time period? So, if I was trying to time it and I was a seller and I said, Katerina, I'd really like to live in Florida of January 2023, is that enough time to get a new home built right now, or is it kind of like more than a year waiting list at this point?
Um, it's a good question. I'm not sure how long you have to wait because, of course, it all depends on the development. Of
Yeah.
course, it depends on the availability. So it's not that it's a set time frame that I can actually say because it all depends on the development itself.
Okay. That's fair. All right. So then let's just end it with this. What are the top three reasons people should definitely move to Miami?
The first reason would be being represented by me as their real estate agent.
Perfect. It's an experience in itself, right?
Right. No, the first thing for me it would be lifestyle because New York City. I'm not sure about Long Island. You see, no, Long Island is more quiet, so it's a little bit different. But I would say for me it was a huge difference when it comes to lifestyle. Simply because in New York, when you live in New York, you're like you have to run somewhere all the time. You wake up and you have to run. When you're in Florida, you wake up, you get a chance to enjoy yourself, to enjoy the weather, to go outside for a walk. You come back, you start working, right? In New York, you don't have that luxury. The second thing would be for me, you can go to the pool in the middle of the day. You can take 2 hour break between calls, between meetings, between this, between that, from 12 to 2 p.m. You can, instead of doing lunch for 2 hours and postpone your work, you can go to the pool. You can go to the beach, enjoy a little sun. And
Yeah, somebody in the chat said they definitely like that one as well. And I think I think it was 39 degrees here in New York today, so I think we're all kind of feeling that one a little bit. Anybody watching from New York is certainly agreeing that being able to go to the pool in the middle of the day would definitely be a benefit. All right. So third reason.
And the third reason I would say that the value appreciation of the home whenever you purchase here, I think that the market is actually the demand of real estate is actually proven that in 5 to 10 years, your appreciation will be much higher than in New York, because in New York, there is demand, but there is limited land. Here in Florida, it's still I would say, underdeveloped. So you get a lot of people that are moving here. In 10 years, let's say, the numbers will go up, right? People.
I find it interesting, and I want to take one more minute of your time, if you don't mind, because you brought it up twice now. You look into the future a lot. You keep saying 10 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 10 years down the road. Obviously, you have an idea that Long Island in itself, we have essentially run out of space in much of the island except going east. So your only opportunity to develop on large scales is going east. And it sounded like you started kind of expanding on the idea that there's just more opportunity. So as we were saying before, from a business standpoint, if you're a young entrepreneur, right? If you're somebody in your 20s and you're thinking about, should I go like the gold rush that happened in America and everyone went west, right? And they all rushed west. Would you say that people right now from New York, if you are a young entrepreneur and you are looking to capitalize on a growing marketplace and get your feet in the pool in the middle of the day for a couple of hours, would you say that definitely Miami should be on your list of places to probably check out, reconsidering moving to?
Yes, absolutely. The reason why I always talk about the future, 5, 10, 15 years from now, is because I work with a lot of investors, especially investors from New York, who are actually building their developments or looking into development sites here in Florida, simply because they know more than us. Let's be honest, right? Investors are always looking into the future. So I know that there's going to be much more demand in the future, and simply because people started appreciating a fact that Florida might give us much more than we get in New York, even our tax benefits, right, here in Florida.
Touch on that real quick. What do you mean?
So there is no income tax in Florida. So it's a good portion of our money that goes into investment in New York. But why would I pay this if I can skip this for a better lifestyle in Florida? You know what I mean? So that's not why a lot of people are moving to Florida. So basically, yes, I do think that Florida is a place to be for young generation, and not only.
Established too, right? Yeah, exactly right. All right. Yeah. So.
And they want their children to grow in a healthy environment.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's an awesome point, and you brought it up a couple of times, so I did want to spend a couple of seconds on it in the way of, if you're planning for your future, right? And Katerina does a really good job at this, because this is what she does for a living. So if you're planning your future and you want to know where your money is going to be best spent, I, as a real estate agent in New York, Long Island based primarily, I'm not telling you not to spend your money with me, but at the same time, I am saying, as we are building your portfolio, we're going to add Miami probably to the list, as Katerina kind of has an idea that looking into the future, you're going to have a little more opportunity than you might have in some other marketplaces. So we do want to make sure that if you're a young investor, if you're an established investor, we need to add to your portfolio right now, as you are on the ground floor for Miami that's exploding in development. Here in Suffolk County, we just don't have that much more land to build on. Long Island's like 120 miles long and like 28 miles wide at one of its longest points. And you guys can at me that I'm wrong about it. I don't care. It's a small landmass. It's not half as big as Florida. You just can't build that many more houses on it. And as far as Manhattan goes, unless they really just start adding higher to the buildings, I think they're really running out of area there. So from a development standpoint, from somebody who seems to have their finger completely on the pulse as to what's going on in her marketplace, guys, if you hear anything from this outside of Florida just being nicer weather, cheaper, no income tax, and all the awesome benefits that come along with it, I think just from an investment standpoint, if you're wondering where to put your money for the next 10 years, I think Katerina kind of answered that question for us on this call today. So thanks so much. It was great having you here. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. This has been another episode of Moving Out. And if you are leaving New York, give me a call. We'll get your house sold. We'll get you in touch with one of these awesome real estate agents like Katerina herself, who will help you understand the Miami market. She'll keep you out of the New York City style suburbs that are down there. We don't want to transplant you from one New York City to the next. She's going to get you less traffic, less headaches, more relaxation, more pool time. Guys, anything you need, reach out to either of us. I will make sure that I post Katerina's information in the bottom of this video so you know where to find her, but I think it's pretty obvious that if you're going to buy a house in Miami, you need to give her a call, guys.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you. It was great seeing you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.